What's going on, world? My name is Christopher Life Willers. This is the 100 TV, and today we're discussing Jefferson Elie, aka Poetic, life of law, sentenced initially to 138 years, currently awaiting a decision on his conditional pardon request with over 188,000 signatures on the desk in support of that. Today we're here to tell his story, to hear his story firsthand. I was able to record a phone call that we were able to have. I wanted to be able to get him up here in some way, shape, or form to tell his story through his own words. I thought that was important, as well as asking him some questions. Also with me today, we've got some guests. I'm going to go around the room and give each and every one of them an opportunity to introduce themselves. We're here today on a panel for Poetic. So I guess ladies first, salute to the queen. Precious, if you want to introduce yourself, anything the world might need to know about you.
My name is Precious. I live in Hampton. I'm not Poetic for probably a little over 2, 3-ish years. I work in education and therapy field, and that's about it.
All right. Thank you. Salute to you again for being a part of this. We just wanted to reach out to different people that have gotten to know, Poetic over the years. The next brother I'm going to bring up, Mr. Harrison Smith, aka Q. If you can, just go ahead and introduce yourself to the world.
Peace, this Q.
Uh-oh. Q. You got your mic blocked, Q. All right, while he's getting straight, Bobby, I'm going to go ahead and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the world, Bobby.
All right, how everybody doing? This is Bobby.
Sorry about that. My mic went off.
Yeah.
You're good. Bobby's going to go ahead. We're going to give you an opportunity, Q.
Everybody doing this, Bobby Stewart. Yeah, I've been home 10 months. I know Poetic for 10 years. Good dude, good brother, man. Keep in contact with him. Try to talk to him almost every day if I can. Got my own business. I become an entrepreneur, man. I just here to help get Poetic out here so he can do the same great things that all us doing.
That's what's up, man. And Q, back to you. Just introduce yourself, man. Let the people know about you. Uh-oh. Q? I think we got some technical difficulties. We're going to push forward, guys. We're going to go ahead. What I want to do is get into that recording of Jefferson Elie, the phone call, where he talks about his case, what was going on prior to, so you can hear in his own words what's been going on in his life, what's transpired. Here we go. What's going on, Paul? I know we only got limited time, just in case this is the only call we can get in. I just really wanted to give you an opportunity to speak so I can play this recording. Everybody's going to hear this when we do the panel for Poetic. I just want you to touch on what was life like prior to your incarceration, why you took that ride that led to your arrest, what happened or what's been going on since you've been incarcerated, how you've changed, and just some of the things that you're doing and why you're fighting for a second chance sooner rather than later.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I graduated from Denby High School in 97 when I was 17 years old. So from that point forward, I kind of was struggling with what I wanted to do, going back and forth from trying to find a career and going to the military. So in the meantime, I was just working little odd jobs here and there. So, well, the first incident that kind of led up to put me in this situation, because I never had a gun or owned a gun, but I had an individual that, I knew we was in the same neighborhood, we were cool, had him pull a gun on me 2 days in a row. And he struck my brother with the gun. So after the second time, I was like, man, that ain't gonna happen no more. And I went out and purchased a gun. Never did anything with it. Up until this point, never been in trouble before, no juvenile record, no parking tickets or anything. So in October of '98, a cousin of mine was in a sexual relationship with this girl, and the girl had a boyfriend. So when the boyfriend found out that she was in a sexual relationship with my cousin, she lied to the boyfriend and told the boyfriend that my cousin had raped her. So her and her mother, who knew that was a lie, got my cousin to come to their house. And when he came to the house, the boyfriend and several of his friends, severely beat my cousin. So about a week or so after that, me and three other guys had went to a party, and the party ended up getting canceled. So one of the guys I was with was like, let's go get them dudes that jumped your cousin. So we went out there. When we went out there was 7 people out there, and we went out there and we assaulted the individuals that were out there. And as we were leaving, the boyfriend got off the ground and tried to grab the gun out of somebody's hand and ended up getting shot. So we left or ran from the scene, and not too long after that, we were caught, arrested, so on and so forth. So we were initially charged with 7 uses of a firearm, 7 robberies, 2 malicious woundings, and 1 aggravated malicious wounding. Eventually, I was convicted and sentenced to 138 years with 88 suspended, leaving me with a total of 50 years to do as a first-time offender with no previous record or anything like that.
I want to pause the tape right there. He did ask me to bring light to this point for the youngsters, anybody that's out there in the streets thinking about dabbling in certain crimes. When you're looking at his case, no prior convictions, no criminal background, squeaky clean record, runs into a situation, gets into the car, this event happens in one moment. And a lot of times we think if a robbery is committed, people that's in the streets, you're just going to get a robbery for the incident. No, you get a robbery charge for each and every individual that was there. You get a gun charge for each and every individual that was there. So he just wanted me to shine a light on knowing the significance of what's really going on and what you're really facing if you go down a certain path, which you're going to hear him speak a little bit loud later on.
So, I was 19 years old at the time. Now I'm 43. I just turned 43 in August. Since I've been in here, I've learned a lot. I've realized a lot. For a long period of time, man, I just kept blaming everybody for everything. I was blaming my cousin for messing with the girl that he was messing with. I was blaming the girl for lying on my cousin. I was blaming the mother for participating in it. I was blaming the lawyer for not being good enough, the judge for giving me the time, my co-defendant for the things that he did. I was blaming everybody except for the person that I should have been blaming, which was myself, because I was the one who made the decision to get in that car, and it took me a long time to get to that point. But I'm glad that I got to that point because it changed my outlook on how I look at everything else. From that point forward, I know everything is in my control. I can control me 100%. No matter if I can't control the things that's around me. But since I've been incarcerated, I've written 2 proposals. One for a debate club program that we finally, after years of trying to push for it, we have been given permission to try it out on a trial basis. I wrote a proposal for a program for first-time offenders, people that have never been locked up before. I've written 3 children's books, with 1 being published so far. I'm currently a teacher's aide for the productive citizenship class, which is a class that they make individuals take right before they go home. I participated. I also was a teacher's aide for anger management at one point in time. So I also founded a nonprofit organization called WeGuard, which stands for Weaving Education, Genealogy, Occupation, and Destiny. And the purpose and goal for that nonprofit is to to interact with at-risk youth and low-income housing areas, not just limited to those areas, but those are the areas that we want to focus on, and giving them different options and outlets, showing them that there's a world bigger than the neighborhoods or areas that they are used to.
Q,
Yes, sir.
you back. Technical difficulties out the way.
Yeah.
We live. Hey, that's part of that's what goes on when you live, right?
That's right.
Poetic just sat here. Jefferson Elie just sat here. He ran down a list. I couldn't even repeat 8.
It was a lot.
He got a whole list.
Yeah, here's a lot
of positive things he's doing.
Right.
How long have you known him?
I met Poe physically in 2005 when I got to Sussex too. However, when I was at Red Onion, they had a little podcast, a radio joint that was called Holler to the Hood. And they was letting these brothers get on there and they was rapping. And I heard this dude and I was like, man, who is this dude? The people actually took his verse where the whole song and played it every other night at the exact same time. And he was incarcerated at King Mountain at the time. So in 2005, and this was 2002. So in 2005, when I got to Sussex, you know, when you meet somebody and their reputation precedes them, you think, well, okay, this dude gonna be this type of person because I didn't get a chance to see him. And when I met him, he was laid back, reserved, shy to a point. You know what I'm saying? A man, a few words. But when I heard him spit, man, like the man gave me chills, man.
Similar situation, man. I'm gonna tell you straight up. That's how I used to hear him rap. And I was on Sussex too.
Right.
You might have been in the same pod. I don't know. It's been a million years, man.
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't know, first and foremost, Red Onion is well, now it's a level 6 or it's not
like
class.
It changed up a little bit, but during this time it was level 6. One of the worst places you was going was there in Wallens Ridge.
Right. So, you know, Poetic has always been gifted with his music, his art. He had music circulating and it was reaching, you know, those places.
Right.
And now you got a chance to meet him. You hearing him rap. I know for me in the environment, it was so full of negativity and chaos.
Right.
That when I heard him rap, I was like, oh, okay. He nice and he talking, you know what I'm saying? He talking about something. Then, you know, I know our journeys were probably similar. He's always been a certain type of person in my life. As long as you've known him, has he been consistent? Because you've known him in different spans throughout incarceration.
Right. And
so
you know, I was getting to that. I watched Poe gradually grow. Like he surprised me every time. Like meeting him is like meeting a new person. It's the same person, you know, but he just grew. Because I left in January 2007, and I think like 2008 or 2009, we met again on Lawrenceville, was in a pod together. And he was full of ideas, creativity, like, man, just to have a conversation with the brother, you know, impregnates your mind, makes you want to do different things, right? So this time when we were together at Lawrenceville, we were able to get a lot of things done. And out of all the things Poetic has done, and I've witnessed him do, I don't even think that he even reached the pinnacle yet because his mind is so creative and he's always coming up with something different, something new.
Right. I told him,
consistent.
I told him, I said, man, I said, to see what you're doing and you're handicapped right now. You know, that's how I talk to my brother. I don't got no, you know, I say right now you got both hands tied behind your back and you still, you know, you're causing an impact. He spoke about his book, dealing with the youth, being proactive, precious, teacher, me and other things you just labeled off. But I would say, you know, out the bunch, I'm sure the fellas can say the most educated, you know what I'm saying? You interact with the youth, you inspire the youth, you got a heart, you know what I'm saying? Is it important to see guys like Poetic, somebody that's in a situation that he's in, or somebody that's gone through something like that reach out to the youth, try to inspire, try to educate?
Yeah, the role that he plays is extremely important, especially kind of not just in the community aspect, but even in the education aspect. The fact that he has the nonprofit, the fact that he has the children's books, and he's actually narrowed down his mission, so to speak, to helping out children. Is extremely important because you have a lot of kids out here that don't have somebody they can look up to. They don't really have somebody that really they can listen to and like, wow, this person actually knows what they're talking about. And he's so humble. He's so genuine. And that's not, I don't want to sound cliche when I say genuine, but the person you see is the person you get, if that makes any sense. And that's really important for children to see because we have all these celebrities, these social media people out here that project a certain image and it's not real. And these kids, this is the information age, kids are seeing this. And so it's really important to have somebody who's teaching you that they're actually the stuff that they're preaching about.
Exactly. I appreciate that. I want to get a little bit more back into this phone call, and just go from there because he's got some more things to say. I want to stop you there really quick, and then I want you to keep going. What gives you the ability to maintain a positive outlook in life, even though you're in prison, even though you're in a negative environment, even though you've been incarcerated now for over 20 years, and you could easily have became negative, bitter, resentful, all those things. Obviously, you said you didn't, but how? What motivates you? What inspires you?
It's funny. I would say two things. One is I never felt like I was going to end up doing that whole 50-year sentence because I knew I didn't deserve 50 years. I don't, try to justify or make excuses for what I did. I understand that I was wrong, but in the mind state that I was in, and the mentality that I had, I just looked at it like somebody did something wrong to somebody I cared about. So the natural thing to do is to defend or avenge that person. That was the mindset I had at the time, and I realized that I was 19, I was a kid. So I never felt like I was going to do this time. So that helped me through at least the whole sentence. So that helped me. And then also, man, when I first got in prison and I looked around my environment, I seen guys that, were beat down mentally or beat down emotionally. And I told myself that I would never let that happen to me. And it wasn't an attack on those individuals. It was just that I didn't want that for me. So I used to always, in my own mind, say, man, I ain't going to let the penitentiary do that to me. And I would have different examples of individuals where I had seen them succumb to, the ills or, the social norms of this environment. Because the social norms in here are, completely different than the social norms out there, at least to a certain degree. So those are the things that
I want to stop it right there real quick. Bobby hopped off screen. Hopefully, there you go.
No, I'm still
Bobby,
here.
I want you to touch on this point because myself, Q, yourself, we've been incarcerated. He spoke about culture, what goes on in prison. How hard is it to be a positive person? How hard is it to become a published author? How hard is it to become somebody that establishes a nonprofit? How hard is it to still move forward when you're in prison for him over 20 years, but I'm just gonna say in prison, period.
Man, it's almost impossible. And it's funny because I want to touch on what Q said about every time you meet him as a different person. Cause I met him 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. And I fell in the pod with him and Q and a few more dudes I keep in contact with. And I want the person that I am now. So I seen Poe, we used to kick it about sports because we was into sports. But we never really kicked it like that because I was into what I was into, or whatever the case may be. And that wasn't his thing. Now, he said he was a teacher aide. I met him like 18 months. Well, we ran back into it 18 months when I'm ready to go home. He the teacher aide and then ready to go home little class. So now I'm sitting down, I'm ready to get myself together, thinking about coming to the streets now. And so now we got something in common because he's talking about the streets. Even though he got 20 some years active to do, he all he talk about is the streets like he ready to go home tomorrow.
Focus.
and you know what I'm saying. And it's hard for you to not be involved in a game or none of that. For see a person that can be by themselves and don't be with the crowd, and that's another thing that I always liked about him. He can sit by himself and be content. You know what I mean? He can be with his thoughts and be content. You know what I'm saying? So for him
And
to do all the stuff that he doing in that environment where ain't nothing but chaos and confusion is amazing, man. It's amazing.
I anybody, I mean, I'm you know, we're gonna keep it real, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I know when I was getting to the end of my time and I was in, well, I didn't have to go through reentry. I ended up getting into a road camp.
yeah,
But I'm looking at guys that's getting ready to go home with me. I kind of, no disrespect, and it's not that I was profiling, judging, none of that, but I
yeah.
kind of really understood who was gonna stay free with me,
Oh
unless
yeah.
something crazy happened, and who was signing up to come right back. Um, when I was doing my time, I as I matured and started growing up in prison, I started attaching to myself to people that I knew once they got home, they weren't coming back.
Yeah,
And that's why I would really wanted you to touch on that, because a lot of times if you see a guy being positive, if you see a guy focused, maintaining a certain walk in the midst of incarceration, in the midst of the belly of the beast, in the midst of being on security level 4s like
yeah,
King Mountain where he's been, security level 3s, like you said, navigating, never getting involved with gang life, none of that.
yeah.
You know, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar when he comes home, he's gonna be all right.
Hey,
Because
excuse me, I cut you off, but I
yeah,
joke with them all the time. I said, man, I said people gonna make you do all yours, man. They know they can't, they ain't get nothing else out you. They know you
man,
ain't coming back.
they
Now I
know
mean,
it.
just picking with them, just joking around with them.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
they
it's
know it,
real,
man.
man.
So we
Yeah,
up here, we up here to make sure they don't.
yeah,
Again, as you seeing it come across the screen, Jefferson Elie, Poetic Life Law, sentenced to 138 years. In 1998, been incarcerated for over 24 years. And this is our quest. We've been on a quest, not just us. Salute to everybody that's been involved in the fight, anybody that signed any petition, anybody that shared a post, like anything, any part of the process, wrote letters. We thank you. As we get back into this recording, and some more of his words, his thoughts, and who we're here to discuss today, Jefferson Elie.
Motivated me. And lastly, I would say, I don't have any biological children, but my nieces and nephews, I've watched my nieces and nephews that some were 5, 8, or whatever when I got locked up, and then it was some that wasn't born, and I'm watching them go off to college or whatever. So they keep me motivated as well.
That's what's up, man. I want to, you just talk a little bit about your nieces and nephews, and something that came to mind, because a lot of us, we end up being incarcerated, even myself, during our teenage years, earlier on. You decided to become proactive when it comes to the youth, and you wrote a book. You're a published author. You want to talk a little bit about the book and, again, the motivation behind it, your approach to it, anything along those lines?
Yeah, sure. The book, the one that's published, is called "The Youth Are Our Future," and the motivation behind that book was, like, I know when I was younger, there were certain things that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a pilot and an architect, and I really had a desire to do that. But as you get older, or as I got older, I didn't know any pilots. I didn't know any architects. You know what I'm saying? So that dream kind of faded away. So The Youth Are Our Future is a book teaching and informing the youth about all of these different professions and occupations that are out there waiting on them that need to be filled. And it's also written with the intent of showing them that not only do we need to fulfill these occupations, these careers, but to be able to utilize the resources, the abilities and the knowledge that we gain from these occupations and these careers to bring back to your community, to contribute back to the societies that you come from.
Right. It's important. I think nowadays, for so long, that's where the judicial system kind of got messed up. Nobody's saying there shouldn't be law and order, But what everybody's finding out, and the cat's out the bag, that instead of being proactive, society became reactive after the fact. But if we can get a hold of the youth prior to and show them different things, because one of the things that it came across my mind when you were speaking, you said, this is what you were taught to do when it came to defending somebody. When you grow up in a certain environment, certain neighborhood, certain circumstance, this is what you know. And a lot of times, I don't know if that's taken into account. You said something key. You're not. I'm gonna stop it right there, Bobby. I seen you had the books in the background. That's what I'm gonna ask you. Not only can you hold the books up, etc. When you get a chance. He just had an event. Did he
Yeah,
not, or was he a part of the event? Can you break down specifically? I'm down here in Atlanta. You guys are up in Virginia. I've seen the posts.
yeah,
I was angry. I couldn't get up there, but I was so happy to see something going on with the books. What exactly? What happened? What transpired recently?
yeah. He had a non-profit event where he was part of somebody else's event, and they had a lot of non-profits come there and just build on what they doing and what they got going on. Where he donated books and people gave him donations, and man, he had so many people show up for him, man, and show him so much love. It was amazing for somebody to be locked up 24 years. And you know what I mean, been going all the time. Most time you've been going that long, people forget about you. Had so many people come and show so much love. And they got a lot of donations, gave away a lot of books, man. And just was building on what We God was all about. And just showing about the youth are the future book. And he trying to get find some more events and nonprofit stuff to set up and be a part of, man. But yeah, it was a great event though.
That's what's up, man. He's working hard. He worked hard to get the book off the ground. Salute. He had a team with him. Salute to his team. Salute to everybody that really, because when you're incarcerated, it's impossible to get certain things done. So I would be remiss without saluting Erica, saluting certain people, man. I just call them out by first names. That helped push that. Bobby, you know what I'm saying. You running, you know what I'm saying? You out there doing the groundwork. Anybody that's supporting anybody that's incarcerated, and you're supporting a positive dream, a positive goal being accomplished, that's a win right there. That's a win for you. That's a win for your loved one. That's a win for life, legacy, journey, period. So salute to everybody that's a part of that process, that project. If you want to get involved, get your hands on the book. The information is scrolling across the ticker. You can learn more about Poetic's book. He's got information about his life, furthermore in depth, at the youthourfuture.com, or you can hop over there to Facebook at the Youth Our Future. Same name, different places. And it's amazing. I liked it. I've been giving away to the students at my school. And the kids, they go crazy. It's poetic. It's obviously that's his name, but it's full of poetry. It's rhyme. The artwork is dope. It's everything. I miss books because for the longest I seen everybody with the tablets, and what happened to the turn some pages. So when I see kids, all the posts with the kids with the books in their hand, all different ages, I was like, yeah, that's what we need. We need to get back more into that.
Yeah.
You can't read a book and then get distracted by another post that pops up. You're in the story, you know what I'm saying? So salute to him for that. Salute to everybody, man, as we get more into this recording, man. Saying you're not responsible. You hold yourself accountable for what happened.
Absolutely.
But you've been incarcerated now over 20 years. If you do the remaining time on your sentence, you wouldn't come home until you're 63.
Yeah, you're 2042.
You're 43 now. Some bad stuff happened. Fortunately, nobody lost their life. I know when I was in the system, and I'm sure you can attest to it, and this is not to compare because wrong is wrong, right is right. We get that. But you got guys that have committed murder, taken life, committed crimes against children, etc., crimes against women, and I don't want to, get to specific because these crimes are graphic, but have gotten far less time.
Absolutely.
What's your perspective on that? And I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't want to give you a tricky question. We got a couple more minutes. I'm watching the time for our call, but what's your insight on that? The judicial system. I'm gonna stop it right there because I got a question for Precious. Um, you're definitely by no means at all on the outside looking in, but when I say that, I'm just saying, to my knowledge, unless you had a crazy night in Miami, you haven't been behind bars.
Correct.
But you're not you know what's going on with the judicial system, what you see, what you've heard, maybe certain things you might have experienced through people you know, obviously through Poetic. What are your thoughts on sentencing right now? What are your thoughts when it comes to certain things you've seen in social media, two people, same crime, different amount of time given in the courtroom, or about what he spoke on, where in his case, he holds himself accountable. What happened happened, but no life was lost, thank God. But then we've seen, and I'm sure Q and Bobby can attest to this, we've seen people that have taken the lives of children, possibly, with less time than he has. Um, I know Bobby, and Q, we got our own insight on it from being behind the wall, but from your perspective, what are your thoughts on it? And then I'm gonna play it so Poetic gives his insight on it.
It's insane. And unfortunately, being in the country that we're in, it's not a rarity, and which is even more insane. And especially, I'm glad you touched on social media. That's a lot of things that we are seeing, whether it's celebrities or just everyday people. The sentencing is ridiculous. And unfortunately, we do sometimes have to, most all the time, have to make it a racial thing. Especially back in the 80s and 90s, especially in the state of Virginia, the statistics of sentencing versus, especially for people in Poetic's case that had never been in trouble, had, like you said, squeaky clean records. Even now, it hasn't changed that much more drastically now, and they say that it's progress, but it really hasn't.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a broken system, and it starts literally with the public education system, and it moves forward into the lack of resources, the lack of positive things in the community for people, for Black people. And I think that the biggest thing is, which I'm glad Poetic is focusing on, that is the community. That's where we can start providing more information on that and more resources and more supports.
Right. And I want to touch on something real quick. You said it starts in the school system. Scary fact about the Commonwealth of Virginia is, for as long as I've known, top one or two easily in prison to school pipeline, which means you got more juveniles, more teenagers going straight to prison, straight into institutions than any other state in the country. Commonwealth of Virginia also had, I know at one time, I don't want to speak on this year, I haven't seen the numbers, but it was always in the top 1 to 3 in most prisoners per capita, which means they had the most people incarcerated per person in the state. Um, there's some scary numbers when it comes to the judicial system as a whole, but it kind of gets scarier when you're in certain states, and that's just me being, transparent. So yeah, that's why we're here. We're here to have a discussion. We're talking about sentencing right now, and now I'm gonna get his feedback on it because he's actually going through the situation. Sentencing, because they speak about over sentencing, harsh sentencing. What are all your thoughts on all this stuff that's going on?
Well, it was a period in my time where when I was incarcerated at a specific facility, the guy across the hall from me had 2 murders, had been convicted of 2 murders, and had less time than me. And the guy next door to me had literally killed his grandmother with a hammer and had the same amount of time as me. So that did something to me psychologically. There was a point where one day I was walking, and when somebody said what the date was, I realized that it was the day I got locked up. But it was the day I got locked up 19 years later. So at that point, I realized that at this point, I literally had been in prison the same amount of time that I had been in society. I had spent 19 years in prison, and that was like mind blowing to me. So now we're talking about 5 years after that, because October will make 24 years that I've been in.
Stop it right there. Q.
Yes, sir.
You spoke about. We spoke about it. Bobby touched on it too, but he spoke about in the period of his incarceration where he got discouraged. We
Right.
seeing guys that we know. Again, not saying what he did was right, but
Right.
we're seeing guys that committed some atrocities.
Right.
You've been on certain compounds, Bobby. I don't know what compounds you've been on. I've been on certain compounds. Um, Precious, you have, without you even knowing, if you're just living in this world, we know that monsters exist.
Mm-hmm.
You're not denying that. But what we're saying is some people make a decision based off emotion. Some people make a decision based off they grew up in the hood and this is what they've been conditioned. Some people make a decision before they're 25. I don't even know how to break down this fact. I'm definitely not that guy. The frontal, what do they say? The frontal cortex, whatever it is, it's responsible for you to be able to make decisions based on who you're going to be in life. They say you don't even know who you're really going to be at 20 or until you're 25. Your brain's still processing information. And how many kids, how many teenagers are getting hit with these obscene numbers, and then they're looking over and they're seeing somebody a monster that's committed a real crime, and they got less time, or and they. Q, what do you think that did to them? And what if maybe you've been in the same situation, you know what I'm saying, and you can relate to it firsthand, but how do you think he pushed past it, or how did you push past it,
Right. You know,
not caught up in that?
he and I had many conversations about how we got to where we were at that time, as well as where we want to go, regardless of the situation. I think to answer the first part of the question, I was sentenced to 53 years under the new law in 1995, right? So it's no parole. So it was more of a political thing. Same thing with Poe in 98.
Brought
You get
that up.
138 years, right? And when you're looking at the numbers, that's basically a life sentence, because you had a whole lot of guys that had, like he said, I know who he's talking about with the double murder, and you make parole.
And I'm glad you
So,
brought you
so
can you break that down for everybody as far as parole? Because I didn't even clarify that. He has
oh,
no chance at parole.
no, he has no chance of parole. My situation is different from his in that regard, only because in 95, when they changed the law, they didn't allow the jury to know that I wouldn't be eligible for parole. So they changed the law, 20 years later, after another case, went through and the Supreme Court ruled on it. And I was able to go up for parole. In Poe's case, he doesn't have the possibility of parole. Now, here's a person that's doing everything and then some. And I mean, in spite of all that, he's still doing what he needs to do. Now, to answer the second part of your question, me meeting Poe helped me grow, because I had got to a point where it was a ceiling now. I made it from Red Onion, Wallen's Reds, Sussex 1. Now I'm at Sussex 2. And I really can't find no like-minded people. You understand what I'm saying? And you need that. Because those outside influences in prison, they there for you. Whatever you into, right, whatever you want to be into, or whatever you think you want to do, prison it has that.
Yeah.
And what it doesn't have is a lot of like-minded people that are trying to grow in certain areas of their life, in spite of their circumstances and their situations. So me meeting Poe, we was able to feed off each other. Me meeting Bobby, it was, and people such as yourself. So we become a small knit type group that actually help each other during those times when we get weak.
Yeah.
Because you might wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm done with this. I ain't never going home. What am I doing all this for?
We've seen it.
Yeah. And witnessed it.
I think about, I'm not going to say his name out of respect, but I think about stand-up guys that said, hey, I can't do this no more.
Exactly.
I watched the guy that had walked down half his sentence, had 9 years, went into the hole one day. Hey, and he said, "I'm not doing this no more," and he didn't do it anymore. And you can
Yeah.
read between. We've seen people. I've seen people lose their minds.
Right.
Literally have
Right.
psychological breakdowns because they can't adjust to the environment. And that's why I wanted you to touch. It's not the physical that we endure.
No.
Poetic can endure. He's strong. He's strong as the next man. He can get out there
Right.
on the yard and lift weight. It's not the physical. Unfortunately, and Precious touched on a little bit, and we're not gonna make it a race thing. We've been bred for the physical part of the struggle. we unfortunately, but fortunately, that part we're good with. It's the mental things. And when you see an individual that's been impacted by certain things on the level of which you have, and there's certain things that's happening in my brother's life that we're not going to talk about, but he's still, no matter what, he's chose to move forward in a positive way.
Exactly.
And you're touching on that, Bobby. Chime in on that. Add something in on that. Like, how hard is it? You
Yeah,
know, and
most definitely.
how
Go ahead.
important is it to see somebody like that move in the way that he does?
Yeah, most definitely. Every day we was together. We used to sit at the top of the steps and just watch the pod and just talk about the streets, man. We'd sit on the top of the steps and just build me and him about the streets or whatever the case may be. And to touch on like the time, like to get 50 years, 100 years. I was sentenced to 21 years at 18 years old. So I'm just coming home and I'm running to people that seeing me and like, damn, you did that 20 years, you did that. People are amazed. They thought that was a life sentence, 20 some years. Like, damn, I
Yeah.
ain't think I'd never see you again. I thought you'd be crazy when you get back out here. Cause like you said, it's all mental. It ain't nothing physical about it. It's all mental. And
No.
so most definitely, I was at Wallace Ridge, Red Onion, such as one, you know what I'm saying? Where like you said, you ain't got you find you one, two good dudes you can build with, man. You hold on to them tight. You break
Yeah.
your neck to find them so you can talk to them and kick it with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Rehabilitation, there's things in place where they try to present that. But for the
Yeah.
most part, if you've done time, rehabilitation is up to you.
True.
Yeah.
So you got to find people, like you said, it's like-minded that
Yeah.
want about business or want to learn a second. Because there's guys like that throughout the
Yeah.
system. Everybody
Yeah. Yeah.
not playing cards. Everybody's not sitting there trying to get high. You got guys in the system that are developing programs,
Yeah.
teaching that are on institutions teaching under the radar. They can't even teach classes,
Yeah.
you know, and they're still doing that. They educate and inspiring. And he does not. I want to go back to that point. The law changed back in '95. He is not eligible for parole, and that's why it's important that we get out in front of this thing, and we get involved because we're fighting for his conditional pardon to get approved. If there's no law change, or this is it, and
Right.
that's why we're fighting. His case is a response, and it's a reflection of countless others. Jefferson Elie's name should be a response or a call to anybody that's got a loved one that's incarcerated, anybody that's impacted that through harsh sentencing, over sentencing, etc. This should be a reminder. If you got somebody that's behind bars, fight for them. Tell their
Right.
story. Continue to get out in front of it. Be proactive. Don't wait for a response or an answer to come. Try to get one. Ask the questions. Contact the people that you need to contact. Get with people that are like-minded, that are fighting the same fight as you. I'm going to go in. Hopefully, we don't have any more technical difficulties as we're on live broadcast. He's got about 5 more minutes, and I wanted to really get into some more of his words. Let's see.
So when I look at the judicial system, like you said, for every action there's an opposite but equal reaction. You know what I'm saying? There's consequences for everything that you do. But the justice system that we have doesn't take into account all of the factors that lead up to a situation. You see my case and you see 7 use of firearms, 7 robberies, 2 malicious wounding, and aggravated malicious wounding. But what were the circumstances that led to that? Who were the people that were involved in the whole situation? How did that situation come about? The individual that committed the crime, did he commit a crime or was he a criminal? And that's the thing with me. I wasn't a criminal. I committed a crime.
I gotta stop it right there, because when he said that, you know, when he said that, it hit home. Anybody want to chime in? Is there a difference between a criminal and somebody that just committed a crime? Anybody want to chime in? Throw that out there. 'Cause I know my answer, but what's y'all feedback on that?
Yeah, I most definitely think there's a difference. I think I seen a TikTok or a reel or something where dude was like, man, it might have been you, Life. I can't remember why I seen it. And dude was like, how long it take you? So he was like, what you mean? He was like, how long it take you? So he was like, what you mean? He like, man, it took me 60 seconds. So he was like, what you mean by that? Man, it took me 60 seconds to commit my crime, to mess my life up for the rest of my life. So I most definitely like, you had people make a bad decision, have a bad day, and it's over with. Then you got people that's out here shooting, robbing, doing what they do every day, all day. You know what I'm saying? So I most definitely think it's a difference. You know what I'm saying?
My grandmother told me one time, man, God bless her soul, man. She said, there's a difference between you walking around the house cussing all day, cussing and fussing, and you stubbing your toe and you let one out on accident. You know,
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a
that's
good one.
that's that grandma wisdom right there.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
understand it. I didn't understand it till later, but I got it now. And that's what I compare it to. There's a difference between somebody that's premeditated
Right.
and plotting it out,
Yeah,
because there's evil in this world. I'm down here in Atlanta. It's crazy.
yeah,
The home invasions, the carjackings. Hey, and I'm sure it's like that across the country right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The world different now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think what that difference that we're speaking about is the mindset of the individual. Because you got people in prison that have been conditioned to the point where they don't want to change. If you gave them an option, they would probably still do what they're doing in prison
right.
versus a person that's striving to have an opportunity. That's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about a man that's saying, yo, give me the opportunity that I feel as though I'm supposed to have and that I deserve. You understand what I'm saying? Versus a person that may go up for parole every other quarter, every other year, you know what I'm saying, around the same time, and he goes in there and he basically sits there and he really don't care if they give him a no, because he's expecting that. Because he probably didn't do anything to change the situation. But you
Right.
got a man that's saying, even though y'all saying I got this time, I may not go anywhere. That's your reality. My reality is I'm not doing this time, and I'm gonna do everything that I can to get out of here. And
100.
that's the difference between being locked up and being incarcerated. See, a person that's locked up, he going with the social norms that's in prison, the prison ethics, the prison politics. You know, it's easy to get into this and get into that. But the person that's incarcerated is saying, yo, I'm awaiting the opportunity to get out of here. So let me take this time to do everything I need to do so I can have my book bag packed and I can hit the ground running. And that's what Poe is doing.
You can't win the race unless you win it. And
Exactly.
that
and
never dropped out.
and for Poe to be doing what he doing in that environment, you know, people in that environment see you writing books, see you coming out with songs. Now probably look like a weirdo. Like, man, what
It's
is
especially there.
yeah, you an outcast.
Uh,
What are you doing?
you know what I heard? I heard this, and then I want to get back in the Poe's words. It was about TikTok, and it was social media. I'm keep going back to that,
Yeah.
but this is educational purposes right here. So in TikTok, where it's from, China, their feeds are different than ours. They get rewarded based on positive, educational, science, history. That's what TikTok is, an educational platform. It's
Wow.
number one search engine. I think it just passed up Google recently. So people are using it. But what's funny is the algorithm rewards them for positive stuff. That's what comes up. But here in America, in our country, where we at, the negative gets rewarded. The algorithm's different. And man, we could probably get up and talk about. But in Purposes of Poetic in Jefferson Elie, you just hit something on the head. In society, it's hard to be, especially as a black man, especially as a man. I'm just gonna say that, especially anybody, you know what I'm saying. But for us, because in the hood, we're taught we got to grow up a certain way. We can't. It's hard to be that guy. You get chastised, you get made fun of, you get looked at, you get looked down, and that's why a lot of us are checking out. We're putting ourselves in situations where we're losing our lives over reasons we don't really want to lose our lives. We ended up in prison over things we shouldn't be ending up in prison for. We're feeding into that. And now in prison, oh man, it's even harder. Because now you got all the negativity, and now you got everybody that's angry, hostile, everything, miserable, depressed, all these things in one magnified environment. So when you see a guy like Poetic, when you see a guy like Jefferson Elie and countless others, because they're there behind those walls and they're still choosing to be positive and progressive, that's a lot. Precious, I didn't know if you had something to say. I seen your mic click on.
I did actually. Yeah, thank you. Just listening to you guys speak on kind of your experiences and everything. And you touched on what your grandmother said, and that's something huge. I love hearing people talk about how um, one mistake or several few mistakes, especially, I'm glad you touched on being young and your brain not fully being able to function and process up to a certain age, making certain mistakes. How they say your teens and your 20s really don't count. That is very huge because he's not allowing one mistake to define who he is. And that's phenomenal because there are people out here that it's like you said, it's the kind of mistakes, it's the amount of mistakes, it's the mindset. I'm glad he touched on mindset, where your thought process is, and to see a person grow exponentially, and just to see him, it's not about how many eyes are on you. In my opinion, it's about the lives that you can impact.
Right.
So to see him focus solely on just if he can just touch somebody's spirit today, if he can just be influential in somebody's life, particularly a black child or a black person, I think it's phenomenal that he's focusing on that.
So, hey, summed it up. He's impact. You know, it's crazy. You know, we all got our own missions in life, all purposes. But he's never. One thing I'll attest to him, man. He's never discriminated. He's never looked down on. He's been accepting of. But in that, anybody that's been in, he's always been inspirational. He's always going to try to educate you. You know, he's going to put you on to something. There's a wisdom there.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get more into his wisdom, man. Few more minutes and moments of his word now.
And I committed. It wasn't like it was just a shoplifting crime. I committed a serious crime, but I wasn't a criminal. You know what I'm saying? I was a young man that made a stupid mistake and deserved to be punished. But to say that he deserved to spend what basically is the rest of his life in prison was unjust. Especially like when you said you look around and you see all of these murders taking place. You see all of these sexual assaults against children and women, and they don't get this type of time. You know, it be and at times has been disheartening. But like I said, like I know I got a better purpose. I know I got a bigger purpose, man. And I just feel like that when given the opportunity, if you give a child more options, the more options they have, the less likely, in my opinion, they'll be to choose the wrong options. But when they feel like, and a lot of times it's not the case. We think that we only have one or two options when we really have more. But if you don't have somebody to show you those options, then you don't become aware of them. Somebody has to shine a light on those options. And somebody has to, or it would help if somebody is able to nurture and cultivate those options, those desires, those dreams that an individual has. So that's my goal, man. And that's what keeps me going, knowing that when I get out, those are the things that I want to do.
Right. And I just want to say real quick, we got a few more minutes. What people are finding out more and more is that it takes guys like us, women that have been behind the wall as well, people that have learned certain lessons in life to reach back to the youth, to reach back into the communities. We're seeing more and more guys coming home, ex-felons, etc., the titles that they place on us, doing really impactful things. So we're hoping for a quick release of you so you can get back into society and start doing these things, because right now we've got over 188,000 signatures in support of your release on the governor's desk, as we're waiting to get a response to, Jefferson Elie's conditional pardon request, or his clemency for that. I just wanted to give you a quick chance. We got about 2 more minutes.
And this phone about to hang up, man. But before it do, man, you brought up that petition. I just want to say thank you to every person that signed that petition, every person that's ever, spoke on my behalf, anybody that's ever written a letter, came to visit, allowed me to call, talk to a senator, talk to the governor, whoever, anybody that shows support, man, and has seen my growth and is fighting or doing anything to help me out of this position, man. I'm eternally grateful, and I can't thank you enough.
And I want to give you opportunity. I'm looking. We got about a minute and a half. I want you to say something directly to the youth, man. Anybody that may be going down a troubled path, anything that you might want them to hear.
Man, the most simplest thing that I can say is trouble is easy to get into and hard to get out. So when you make your decisions, always think about them before you make them, and never be in a position where you do something and don't know why you did it. If you did something or you're gonna do something, and if somebody asks you why you did it, you should always be prepared with an answer on why you did it.
Peace, man. Make sure you walk in the path that you want to walk, but understand the circumstances behind each and every one of your decisions. Repercussions are real, and the system's hard to get out of once you get in. We fighting for my brother's release. We fighting for his freedom. We fighting for the freedom of so many others. Poe is coming to an end. I gotta go ahead and let you go. But thank you for getting up here. Everybody's gonna hear this recording. And that's that, man.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you, bro. Love you.
Love you too, peace, man. Be safe. Peace. Man. Yeah. So those were his words. I got a bunch of thoughts. Is that phone call? We were talking about a lot. And it's weird. I'm out here. I'm on the other side of things. And in life, for what I'm doing, there's not many people you can reach out to, and at least for me. And it's it's unfortunate I gotta wait for him to call me, but it's fortunate I got somebody that can call me when I need, and some wisdom, shoulder to lean on. You guys talked a little bit about your experience. I'll just say with me, at 19, I was sentenced to 19 years, 144 over my head, coming straight from Chicago. It is what it was. If anybody knows my story, I was into, the gang lifestyle. I had a reputation that preceded me leaving the jail. Man, my story was crazy. But I remember running into him. We touched on it a little bit in the beginning of this, where I heard him rapping, and I used to make beats, and that in music, it was just that one commonality. And I heard him. He was talking about something different. And one of the illest moments of my life, he just simply walked up. He said, "Hey, man." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Do you know who you are?" And man, at first I was like, "What you talking about?" But the significance of that question is, to this day, as a principal to a school here in Atlanta, I ask each and every one of my students that question when I'm doing interviews, when I'm doing assessments, when I'm doing enrollments. Anything that I've done positive in my life, I attribute to my brother, Jefferson Elie, because he shifted my path. He shifted the course. He shifted the direction of my life, because I easily could have went somewhere else. So I just wanted to touch on that, man. And another reason why I'm fighting so hard. I wanted to ask Precious this question because it relates to a part that I want to speak on. Sometimes people are concerned when we come home. I'm saying we, because 3 of us again have been incarcerated. Sometimes people are concerned when we come home, or sometimes people are feeding into, I'm not even gonna say feeding in. I don't know if that's the word, but we hear stereotypes, we hear certain things, or we think certain things about individuals that are incarcerated, and then you hear, oh, this guy's been locked up for not a year at the jail or 6 months, but 10 years, 15, 20. Um, we were joking about it before we hopped up here, and then me and my brother was joking about it. But you initially didn't like Poetic, you didn't like Jefferson Elie,
No.
but somehow something shifted because you smiling about it, and I know you call him, you call him friend, brother, etc. But like, can you speak to those that might have concerns? I don't really know how you can tie it together, but maybe you can just talk about why you didn't initially like this person, if you can, and then what happened and what changed your thoughts in regards to somebody that was, incarcerated.
Yes. So no, I didn't like him initially. I could not stand him. And it didn't speak at all to him. It spoke directly to me and just the place that I was in at the time. That's something I noticed that everybody here brought up at one point, that they're different than the person that they are now. And that shows just how influential and impactful he is upon meeting him. But I thought he was too nice. I was like, this, what is weird? Like, what's with him? It's weird. It was weird to me. Like, he's still like one of the nicest people I know. Like, it was weird
Yeah,
to me. It was like, nobody genuinely cares about people like that. I was like, the monster's going to come out eventually. And that's kind of how I saw pretty much anybody and everybody, just because of my experiences that I'd had. As I told him, I don't know about him. Like, I don't know. He got an agenda, or there's a reason he's at. And he's literally the same person, like, now that he was then. He's never been anything that he's not. He literally cares so much for people. He probably cares about people almost sometimes more than his own self. Like, he is
yeah,
so, I would say, hmm, the best word I would put as far as how he cares about people is thoughtful. Like, he's always looking for new ways to inspire you. He's looking for new ways to encourage you. And over time, that started to become one of my friends. Like, I'm telling him my problems. I'm like telling him what's going on in my own. Like, when did I even start to tell him these things? And it just shows that he's that ear. It's almost like having a therapist. It's like, probably is. It definitely should have been his caller. It might be. So it's one of those things where it's like, he literally just, the way that he listens to you, but the way that he provides a positive solution. He's never been sitting on the phone pity party or talking bad about people. He literally only just cares about seeing me progress and move forward. And it's changed me to a point to where over time I'd seen myself being less guarded and less defensive with people.
that's major, especially coming from somebody from that perspective, man. Um, what I wanted to do right now is give each and every one of you, and I might hop up here too, just anything that the world might need to know about Jefferson Elie. Anything, in regards to why we're fighting, anything in regards to who he is, anything else that we might not have mentioned before we bring, this thing, at least part one, to a close.
Yeah, I start off there. Like, I'm gonna tell you this. What he said to me to change my life around, or made me look at life different, to change my life around, look at life different. And something that Q touched on. He asked me one time. He was like, "Man, you gonna be an asset or a liability when you get back out there?" I'm like, "What you mean?" He like, "You gonna be an asset or a liability?" You been a liability your whole life, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I think once you get out here, you're gonna be an asset to the world, man. She already see what he doing behind the bar, so you're gonna imagine what he gonna do. He really can run wild and do what he wanna do, how he wanna do it, you know what I'm saying? So that's my little piece right there.
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
without question. Um, hey man, look, the work is plenty, but the labors are few. And it's plenty of people that have came home and they're doing what they're doing. I respect any person that's coming out here and trying to or striving to become a member of society. However, it's a lot more that needs to be done. And you need a particular type individual to reach some of these people that are in places that a lot of these people can't go to. And a lot of these young is not going to be able to relate to. And Preston spoke on it earlier. You got to be consistent with these youngins that's out here now, because they may not be listening to you, but they watching you. So to have somebody like him, that's on the team, that's a part of the workforce, and they start to see these numbers rise and these numbers grow, then they start to see themselves as, okay, maybe this could work. Because you can't tell them one thing and then do another. And Poetic's the type of person that I know he's going to be a stand-up individual. He's a good example, and he walks his talk. And
Most
I'm looking for the best in this situation, and I know when he get out here, he gonna do everything he said he's going to do, and then some.
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, definitely. Precious, anything?
Yes, I love that Q touched on that he walks the talk. He is definitely the person that he says he is. He wants to do nothing more than to give back and educate and impact and touch lives. And the work that he's already doing now speaks for the work that he's going to do. Look at all the stuff that he's accomplishing now without even being out here yet. So I'm excited for him and for everything he's going to do.
Most definitely. My pops told me, man, he said, everybody lives in this world. You will change it. I've lived enough in my 39 years, which isn't much. I know when I come across people that are changing the world, that are fighting to change the world for a better place. There's so many that's contributing to the negativity. Um, Anybody that's watching this right now, you just think about the news, you think about just the anxiety, the anger, all these things that are going on in society, and how few stories there are of people that are trying to make positive change. Jefferson Elie is making a positive change right now, even while being incarcerated. Even while being incarcerated for over 24 years, even with not knowing if he's got to do an additional 20, despite all odds, he's continued to move forward and cause a positive impact in people's lives, and rewrite his legacy, which is major. Sometimes people get caught up in one way and they don't fight to go back the other. He's an example of that. I definitely want to salute to him too. Something that's major. People ask me, man, you don't sleep, you work all the time, you grind, you good. Well, I face what I face, and I'm sure each and every one of you can attest. We face what we face in life, but when we look at people like Poetic, he takes away the excuses. When I get up in the morning and I think about him writing a book in there, and he's still fighting for his freedom, what am I doing pouting because I got to go to work? He's an example. He's an example of a man. He's an example of a brother. He's an example of a father without having children, so to say. He is exactly who he is, but more importantly, he's a leader. Somebody that cause an impact. Somebody that's been through certain things, so he's able to talk about certain things and discuss certain things. If you're interested in getting involved in our quest and the quest of others in the fight for his freedom, you can definitely reach out here in the comments, or you can hop over there to IG, as majority of people have been messaging me there, or on Facebook. And this is part one. We're gonna be up here. There's gonna be a few more discussions, updates, etc. As we continue our quest, man. Each and every one of y'all want to say goodbye. Anything, parting words for this one?
Nah, it's peace, man. We're gonna keep doing it till you out, man. We're gonna keep pushing it till you out. That's it.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. All right, y'all. Until next time, man. Peace, love, and blessings. Stay focused, stay free. Learn from the lesson, man, and understand despite what you're going through, you walking in a blessing, man. Till next time, we got this. Keep fighting forward. Peace.
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 Peace.